Working capital, you need to protect that at all costs. That's one of the biggest things that I said earlier, that the cash is king, and whatever you can do to maintain that good working capital position is what you need to really hone in on. As we head through the winter months and into the springtime, rolling up into planting season, your cash flows are something you always need to have in the back of your mind. I like to look at both the annual cash flow, and then I really like to hone in on the month-to-month cash flow. Those are easily adjustable and can be changed at any time if need be. What do you have available on your current asset side that can be readily transferred to cash when you need it to be? You work into the springtime, and there's a lot of bills, expenses that can pop up, seed treatment costs, added fuel costs as you're planting the fields at that point. So you look at your cash flows, you keep your working capital in mind. You've got to have a marketing plan in place. Typically that's a 12-month ongoing thing. That's not something you want to just sit down and look at once a year. That needs to always kind of be in the back of your mind. You kind of need to keep that annual monthly cash flow with you at all times as you're an operator or farmer. It was 2019, and we had kind of an unseasonably wet spring, and there was not much crop that was put in the ground at that point. So we got into the first couple of days of June, actually, and nothing had really been planted up to that point. So I had a lot of guys come into me, and we kind of sat down, and they just started asking for advice, and I put my banker's hat back on, and we looked through some cash flow scenarios, and we looked at, do they continue to plant corn? Do they switch to soybeans? Do they look into taking prevent plant for that year? So what we kind of did is we set up the three different scenarios. So, from a corn perspective, you had to look at, do you stick with the maturities of the corn hybrids that you've got now? Typically where we're at, the 110 to 115 day hybrids are what fit best. At that point, you get into June, you need to kind of start looking at planting 95 to 100 day corn. Well, at that point, you're looking at reducing yield. You're going to lose quite a bit of yield going from a later maturity corn to an earlier maturity corn. From a soybean perspective, if guys did not want to plant an earlier maturity corn, they need to look at switching to soybeans. At that point, was fertilizer already put on the field? Was anhydrous already applied? How does that play into roles with the soybeans emerging the way they need to? Then at that point, we also looked at and talked to different insurance agents throughout the area and kind of got their input in what preventive plant could look like. So we lined all three of those scenarios up and went through cash flows with them and what prices were doing at the time, and they just kind of made a decision based off of that. No one can tell what's going to happen for that crop year. You don't know what your yields are going to be like. You don't know what the markets are going to do, what the weather's going to do, what your health could do. There's so many scenarios you need to look at. So from a cash flow perspective, you need to kind of be conservative. It's always a good idea to kind of look at your 5-year average and maybe stress test that even more, just to kind of see where you're at and really kind of hone in on your financial profile. That's what the really good lenders do. They make that process as seamless as possible for their clients, and it's just having that trusted relationship. As a farmer, as a grower, you need to have your trusted advisors readily available to talk to. Your banker, your attorney, your accountant, your agronomist, your seed salesman, whatever that might be. You need to have them on speed dial and talk to them on a regular basis and kind of know where you're at with everything. Ag lending is at the forefront of Compeer, and many times the FO that's sitting across the desk from you is going through the same situation, the same scenario you're going through on their personal farm. This is what we do. We are farmers.